Hi, I'm Mrs. Nazarian, and I'm here with Sparkle, and we're going to do our 7th reading lesson. Our first 6, we read different versions of Cinderella, and we talked about characters and how to think about characters, their personality traits, their physical traits, and their relationships with other characters in the book. The next 6 lessons, we're going to be reading some different fairy tales. Today we're going to read Little Red Riding Hood. We're also going to read The Three Billy Goats Gruff next time. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The Three Little Pigs and the true story of the Three Little Pigs. This is a lot of fun. Hansel and Gretel, and I have some finger puppets. That will be a lot of fun. And we're going to end with Jack and the Beanstalk. So while we're reading these other fairy tales, I want us to think about what makes a fairy tale. And Sparkle made us a poster. So thanks, Sparkle. You're welcome. Okay, so let's look. Sparkle made a fairy tale recipe, and at the top, she has the title of all the books we're going to read in this series. And the first column is Little Red Riding Hood, or Red Riding Hood is the title of this particular version, by James Marshall. So Sparkle has up here that these are the things that make up a fairy tale. Usually, some fairy tales will have some of these things. Some fairy tales will have all of these things, but we're going to do a checklist, so we'll keep track. Does the story or a fairy tale start out with once upon a time? Are some of the characters royalty? Like in Cinderella, there were characters that were royalty. The prince, for example. Are there characters that are good and evil? Is there a problem to solve? Does someone make a plan to solve that problem? Is there magic in the story? Do things happen in threes? Do animals act like humans? Does someone get a reward? Does the story end in happily ever after? And is there a lesson that teaches children something important? Okay, so that's the fairy tale recipe. So after we read Red Riding Hood, we'll check off and see how many of those ingredients this particular fairy tale has. One more thing I want to think about. Last week, our focus was on characters and what the characters were like. This week, let's focus on setting. Okay, a setting means, well, you probably learned this in kindergarten and first grade, but a setting is where the story takes place, and also when does the story take place. So where and when, that's what the setting is. You know I need my glasses. Red Riding Hood by James Marshall. A long time ago, in a simple cottage beside the deep, dark woods, there lived a pretty child called Red Riding Hood. She was kind and considerate, and everybody loved her. One afternoon, Red Riding Hood's mother called to her. "Granny isn't feeling up to snuff today," she said, "so I've baked her favorite custard as a little surprise. Be a good girl and take it to her, will you?" Red Riding Hood was delighted. She loved going to Granny's, even though it meant crossing the deep, dark woods. So you can see the setting takes place in Red Riding Hood's house. Here's a picture of the outside of her house. When the custard had cooled, Red Riding Hood's mother wrapped it up and put it in a basket. "Now, whatever you do," she said, "go straight to Granny's. Do not tarry, do not speak to any strangers." "Yes, Mama," said Red Riding Hood. So she's still at her house, and it's daylight, so maybe it's late morning. We do know it's daytime. That's the time the story's taking place. Before long, she was in the deepest part of the woods. "Oh," she said, "this is scary." "Oh, there's Red Riding Hood, but I do see another character. Do you?" "Yes, I think it's a wolf." Suddenly, a large wolf appeared. "Good afternoon, my dear," he said. "Care to stop for a little chat?" "Oh, gracious me," said Red Riding Hood. "Mama said not to speak to any strangers." Remember, Mama said, do not tarry and do not speak to strangers. I think tarry means like go slowly. But the wolf had such charming manners. "And where are you going, sweet thing?" he said. "I'm on my way to visit Granny, who lives in the pretty yellow house on the other side of the woods," said Red Riding Hood. "She's feeling poorly, and I'm taking her a surprise." "Huh, you don't say," said the wolf. Just then he had a delightful idea. "No reason why I can't eat both of them," he thought. "Allow me to escort you," he said. "You never know what might be lurking in the woods." "You're too kind," said Red Riding Hood. Oh my, are they holding hands? Oh, Red Riding Hood is very comfortable with him, isn't she? I don't think he should be trusted. Look at his look. Oh, he looks hungry. So the setting now has changed, right? From Little Red Riding Hood's house to the woods. And it is a little later in the day. Now beyond the forest, they came to a patch of sunflowers. "Why not pick a few?" suggested the wolf. "Grannies love flowers, you know." But while Red Riding Hood was picking a pretty bouquet, the clever wolf hurried on ahead to Granny's house. Oh, so the setting has changed again, hasn't it? Now it's taking place at Granny's house. "Who is it?" called out Granny. "It is I, your delicious, I mean, your darling granddaughter," said the wolf in a high voice. "Well, the door is unlocked," said Granny. Oh, it looks like Granny's in bed. She'd been reading a book. Sneaky wolf. "Surprise!" cried the wolf. Granny was furious at having her reading interrupted.
"Get out of here, you horrid thing!"
she cried. Oops. She cried. Oh, look. The cat and Granny are startled that the wolf is in her house. Oh, look how many books Granny has read. But the wolf gobbled her right up. He didn't even bother to chew. "Tasty," he said, patting his belly. "Bleh, so tasty." Just then he heard footsteps on the garden path. "Here comes dessert." And losing no time, he put on Granny's cap and glasses, jumped into bed, and pulled up the covers. Oh no. Who is going to be there? No, not Red Riding Hood. "Who is it?" he called out.
"Who is it?"
in his sweetest granny voice. "It is I, your little granddaughter," said Red Riding Hood. "The door is unlocked," said the wolf. Oh, look. Little Red Riding Hood should look in the window first. Red Riding Hood was distressed at seeing her grandmother so changed. "Why, Granny," she said, "what big eyes you have." "The better to see you, my dear," said the wolf. "And Granny, what long arms you have." "The better to hug you, my dear," said the wolf. "And Granny, what big teeth you have." "The better to eat you, my dear," cried the wolf. Oh no. And he gobbled her right up. "I'm so wicked," he said, "so wicked." But really, he was enormously pleased with himself. And having enjoyed such a heavy meal, he was soon snoring away. A hunter passing by was alarmed by the frightful racket. "That doesn't sound like Granny," he said. Oh my goodness, so let's see what's going on. There's the hunter, he'd been out hunting. Oh, there's the wolf in Granny's chair. The setting is still at Granny's house. And after dinner mince, oh, that rascal. He even stole Granny's after dinner mince. And so the brave hunter jumped in the window, killed the sleeping wolf, and cut him open. Out jumped Granny and Red Riding Hood. "Oh, we're ever so grateful," said Red Riding Hood. "That wicked wolf won't trouble you again," said the hunter. "It was so dark in there I couldn't read a word," said Granny. Red Riding Hood promised never, ever to speak to another stranger, charming manners or not. Look at the cat. I like the look on Little Red Riding Hood's face. And she never did. Oh, look. Here's another stranger she met in the woods. Is that the silver gator? Okay, so let's see. How many of these ingredients fit this particular fairy tale? Red Riding Hood. Okay, so once upon a time. I don't remember. I'm going to have to go back to the beginning and check to see if it starts at once upon a time. It starts a long time ago. No, we can't check off the first one. Next one. Some characters of royalty. Are there any kings or queens or princes or princesses in this story? No. So let's skip this one too. How about the next one? Some characters are good and some characters are evil. What do you think, Sparkle? Oh yeah. Red Riding Hood is good and her mom's good and Granny's good and the wolf, oh my goodness, he's really, really bad. Okay, so let's give that a check. Okay, next one. Is there a problem to solve? What do you think, Sparkle? Is there a problem to solve? Yeah, there's a problem. The big bad wolf ends up eating Granny and he also eats Little Red Riding Hood. That's a problem. I agree with Sparkle. I'm going to give it a check mark. Problem to solve. Okay, the next one. Does someone make a plan to solve the problem? Okay, so the wolf eats Granny and Little Red Riding Hood. What do you think, Sparkle? Oh yeah, for sure. The hunter makes a plan. He makes a really quick plan and he runs in the house and he kills the wolf and he cuts him open and then he releases Granny and Little Red Riding Hood before they're digested. Oh, she has a point. I think we get to check that one off. Someone has a plan, it's the hunter. Next, there's magic. Let me think. What do you think, Sparkle? You're an expert on magic. Was there any magic in this story? Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of magic that the wolf can eat Granny and then the hunter cuts her open. I'm not really sure. You know, I agree with Sparkle. I'm not really sure either. I'm going to skip that one. Things happen in threes. Let's see. Does anything happen in three? I'm going to have to look at the story and see. I think that there's something happens in threes when Little Red Riding Hood chants, what big eyes you have, what long arms you have, and what big teeth you have. She says these things to him and it's in threes. So that's definitely one thing in threes. That might be the only thing that I can think of that comes in threes. I'm going to give it a check mark. Things happen in threes. The next one, animals act like humans. What do you think, Sparkle? Oh, definitely. The wolf acts like a human. He talks and he's sneaky and he tries to sneak and trick Little Red Riding Hood and then he eats Grandma. Oh yeah, he acts like a human, an evil human. I agree, Sparkle. Does somebody get a reward? What do you think, Sparkle? Yeah, I mean, Granny and Little Red Riding Hood, they get their life back. I mean, that's the biggest reward you could get, right? Yeah, okay. I agree. Next one is, there's a happily ever after ending. So let's see. So Little Red Riding Hood promised never ever to speak to another stranger, charming manners or not, and she never did. No, I don't see a happily ever after ending. And the last one. Does the story teach children a lesson? What do you think, Sparkle?
Definitely. Be careful with strangers. Don't trust them. And listen to your mother. When she tells you to go straight to Granny's house, go straight to Granny's house. Don't tarry or talk to strangers.
Oh, yeah. Definitely teaches children a lesson. Sparkle, what was the one that we skipped that I said? Oh, the magic. That was the one I wanted to come back to. Is there magic? Let's really think about that. That one was pretty hard because it's not like there's a fairy in the story like Sparkle with a magic wand, but maybe it's magic that the wolf acts like a human and can talk, and it's also magic that a wolf can eat the grandmother and Red Riding Hood, and then they're still alive. So I do think that there is magic. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 out of the 11 ingredients Red Riding Hood had of the fairy tale recipe. Okay, so next lesson, we're going to be reading Three Billy Goats, Gruff. All right, so we'll see you then. Bye.